Hey everyone, this is Brian Ferguson. I know if you're watching this that you're enjoying the Bumps and Thumps podcast. In order to continue the podcast and get the guests on that everyone wants to hear about, we need support from listeners like you. There are a few ways you can do this. One is going to anchor.fm, which will be on the bottom of your screen here, and click the support button. There you can make a monthly contribution to support the podcast. There's also, we have a Teespring store. We have a link down at the bottom of the screen as well for that. And we have products such as t-shirts like this one I'm wearing, backpacks, glassware, and other great items for you to purchase. Those purchases go directly back into the podcast and get on guests that require financial compensation. Thank you again for your support. Go to those websites and support our podcast, and we will continue to bring the guests that you want to hear about, past and present. And thank you for your support and enjoy the podcast. Thank you for joining another edition of Bumps and Thumps, the talk of wrestling. I'm Brian Ferguson. My guest today has been a true fan of professional wrestling since 1989. He is a lifetime member of the Cauliflower Alley Club and works in the medical field. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Brian Westcott. Brian, thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be on your program today.
Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit, if we could. Growing up, where'd you grow up at, and what was your childhood like?
I was born in November 6, 1973, in Idaho Falls, Idaho,
Okay.
which is the southeastern part of Idaho. And then we moved to Twin Falls, then moved to Boise, and then moved to Meridian, where I live.
Okay.
And we've lived here since 1977.
Okay. And what was your childhood like? I know you're a professional wrestling fan, so I'm figuring somehow family life got involved with that.
Well, pro wrestling didn't really come along until when I was a teenager, and
Okay.
I would go to on Monday nights I had Young Life club meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and my father was watching. He stumbled onto primetime wrestling on USA Network,
Okay.
and he thought to himself, "Yeah, I think my son will enjoy this." So eventually started watching it, and started. I remember watching the main event on
Okay.
February 3rd, 1989, and it was when the Mega Powers, Hogan and Savage, were breaking up over Miss Elizabeth. And
Ah,
the storyline that led to WrestleMania 5, and yeah, I was hooked.
hooked from there, huh?
Hmm.
What? Okay. What about your schooling? Did you go to college or anything after high school, or?
Uh, Graduated from Meridian High School in May of 1992. This year marks my 30-year high school reunion,
I'm with you.
and attended Northwest Nazarene College at the time. Now it's a university.
Okay.
Went there for 5 years. Graduated in June of 1997. So this year will be my 25th year
Wow.
class reunion.
That's great. Wonderful. So becoming a fan of pro wrestling, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but you're really, really involved. Um, I follow you on your Facebook page, and you're at a lot of events, the Hall of Fames, and what kind of got you interested in going to all those kind of events?
Friend of mine suggested that I try out the Cauliflower Alley Club,
Mm-hmm.
and went to my first reunion in 2005. And yeah, I felt like a kid in the candy store because that's where I got to meet Adrian Street and Mike Lano, met Red Bastien and Nick Bockwinkel for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a lot of fun. They really made me feel right at home. And
Wow.
that's where Adrian Street and Miss Linda, they got married at the
Oh,
2005 CNC reunion. I mean, they had been a couple for a long, long time, but
yeah.
legally got married because Don Leo Jonathan, who was there, he was the best man at the wedding, and the wedding was part of our banquet.
Okay.
So kind of a nice surprise, nice bonus. We get some surprises
Yeah.
at the bologna blowouts and the main banquet. So that
Okay.
was a nice surprise to have there. And it was at the now torn down Riviera Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
We had a nice skyline view of the strip.
Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty awesome. You've been going there for quite a while. You also mentioned when we were corresponding back and forth that you'd been to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in Iowa and some other ones, the one in Texas. Uh, what was that experience like? I know they're usually in July, the one up in Waterloo.
Waterloo last year, that was a lot of fun. It is a top notch organization.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Waterloo, not a lot to do there, but it has a charm all its own. And
Yeah.
the museum, yeah, not a large pro wrestling memorabilia area, but still, they have great support from amateur wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And they took us to the basement. So there's some pro wrestling memorabilia downstairs. Like I
Mm-hmm.
say, if anything happens to me, that's where my collection's going to go. It's
Oh,
probably
okay.
going
Well,
to go to
great.
Iowa.
Okay. Let's talk about your collection. What kind of I know you're an avid fan. I didn't realize you collected things. What kind of things do you collect?
So I've just been itemizing lately,
Mm-hmm.
so for insurance purposes. So I've
Okay.
got quite a bit of autographs, and some of them, some rare ones
Yeah.
that are worth quite a bit of money. And then I've got some books, some magazines,
Yeah.
some action figures,
Mm-hmm.
DVDs, some music CDs.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure I itemize the collection.
Yeah. No,
So
I
just to make
understand that.
sure it all goes to the right places, right people.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I just went to that WrestleCon down in Dallas about a month ago, a little over a month ago now, and I got a bunch of nice autographs and signings and pictures, and it was a lot of fun. It was a little confusing at times, but we got through it, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to going to Cauliflower Alley Club this fall in September, and hopefully I can meet you in person there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So far, the announcements we have Conan will get the Lucha Libre Award.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Sullivan will get a Men's Wrestling Award. The Rock and Roll Express will get the Tag Team Award.
Yeah.
And they recently announced Billy Silverman will get the Charlie Smith Referee Award.
That's
All well
great.
deserved.
Yeah. Probably overdue.
Oh, yeah, long overdue for some of those guys.
Yeah. So for you too, you were awarded the Red Bastien Friendship Award back in 2012.
Yep.
What was that like for you? That had to be like, you know, I don't know how to even describe it. I'm sure it was quite amazing.
Oh, yeah, it was. It felt like it was, you felt like you were on the red carpet. You felt
Yeah.
like you were treated like a Hollywood star. And
Mm-hmm.
I won the award on Roddy Piper's 58th birthday, no less.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
Piper and Bastien. Bastien was Roddy Piper's best man at
Okay.
Piper's wedding. So there was a connection. And
Mm-hmm.
Red Bastien at that time, he was dying from Alzheimer's. His wife, Carol, was in the audience. And when I mentioned him in
Mm,
my speech, she was crying.
yeah.
So, and
Wow.
we did lose him in August of 2012. He was 81. Last
Yeah.
time I saw him was at the 2009 reunion.
Okay.
And so we knew the end was near for him.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty humbling to be the sixth person to win this fan appreciation award. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have some other individuals who have won this award. They come from the old school. They come from the Wrestling Fans International Association.
Right.
So you have some photographers, and you have Darla Staggs
Darla.
is an
Yeah.
honoree.
Yeah.
And then you've got some new school people like myself who came along during the internet age in the 90s when things were
Yeah.
starting up.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about you got a website too now, I understand, with a lot of information. Talk about your website a little bit, what that kind of entails.
Website is www.brianrich.net.
Okay.
www.westcott.com/wrestle.html.
Okay.
And there's also Westcott's Wrestling Archives, which has a list of wrestlers and the titles, championships they've won in some sort of chronological order and
Mm-hmm.
within various categories.
Okay.
And I created a web page as part of my speech communications practicum in college. It was an easy A, although learning how to do computer language, HTML, and figuring
Yeah.
that out, that was the tough part. But
Yeah.
because it was the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, which of course now actually exists in New York. So
Right.
there's another place I'd love to one of these days. I'll
Yeah.
fly to Albany, New York, and check that out. So I
Yeah.
wish the best for them.
Yeah. I talked to Mac Davis. I don't know if you know who he is. He kind of is a part of that. He runs a kind of a thing down in Georgia, I believe, and he's really into that. He goes up there every year and does reports on it. He has a little YouTube channel and everything, and it's really neat. So I'd like to go up there myself. So one day, hopefully, maybe next year or the year after, I can go up there and check it out as well with you. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So all right. Well, let's see. So, what are things that are coming up for you that you're going to be at or going to? Any particular events coming up for you?
Oh, let's see. Well, I know we have our own pro wrestling promotion here in Idaho called
Mm-hmm.
Idaho Wrestle Club,
Okay.
and they've got an event called The Forge, which
Mm-hmm.
basically will be an online event. I'll be watching it
Okay.
from YouTube or Facebook.
Okay.
So we've got some new people making their debuts. Yeah, I know Wrestle Club's been around since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all started by a guy by the name of Anthony Garabai, who's originally from California, and
Okay.
eventually that started up in Idaho. So we've got some great talent that have come out of Idaho Wrestle Club. We've got a couple that are in Las Vegas. We've got a couple that are in Florida. We've
Mm-hmm.
got one in Ohio. So
Okay.
we've got some
Wow.
great talent. So
Yeah.
it's a nice platform. But
Yeah.
we're also training some new people wanting to make their debuts. So we'll get to see what that's going to be like starting tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty neat. Let me ask you this: who was probably the most interesting person that you have met as a pro wrestler? Who was probably your most interesting one that you would had met?
Probably one of the classiest individuals I've ever met was Nick Bockwinkel by far.
Okay, yeah, yeah, Slick Nick. I remember him. He was on the AWA when I was a kid. We were only a couple years apart, you and I, but he was such a good heel, you know,
Oh yeah.
and he was just yeah. But outside the ring, they said everybody had so much respect for him. He was a first class gentleman. So you're not the only one to say that. So that's good. So okay, well, Brian, anything else as far as like coming up for you? Are you going anywhere? Are you going to Iowa this summer?
Yep, I'll be going to Iowa. Just checked my flight for that.
Okay.
So that's coming up late July.
Yeah.
And then CAC, of course, September
Yep.
26th or 28th at
All
the
right.
Plaza.
Yep. I'll be there. So, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Mr. Brian Westcott for his time tonight. Brian, thank you so much. And I apologize before we came online, folks. Just FYI, we had a little technical snafu on my end, but we got it squared away. So, ladies and gentlemen, Brian Westcott. Brian, thanks for coming on tonight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All
And
right. And
blessings to all you pro wrestling fans out there. Support your local independent pro wrestling.
that's right. That's a good point, Brian, because there are some out there, and they're good ones. You know, I don't think they get the recognition they deserve. So applaud you for that. Folks, if you're listening, thank you. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you. And we will talk to you soon. Take care.